Click the links to join the channel, become a valued member, and you can watch the videos that never make it out of monetization limbo. And join the Subscribe Star. I think I'm going to start using that. I'll start doing a video exclusively for Subscribe Star, and it's $2 a month, so it's an easy way to support me if you wish. So Sina Grace is the guy who did Ghosted in LA. And the thing is with Sina Grace and Mags Fasagio and Joe Glass and all these, whack jobs, no offense. I kind of like Joe Glass. I feel bad for the guy. He seems like a nice guy who's just like too much up in his own emotions and feelings. I had a talk to him once. He later deleted it where we were talking about comics again. I said, you could probably talk to some people in CG, and then he was just going off on EVS and CG and these people made my life hell and persecuted me for months and whatever. It's like, really? Online? I don't know if the persecution was was it really that serious? People maybe were posting some memes online or something, or people talked about the Pride comic and made fun of it. The thing is, he's making comics for a specific audience, and where other there's a whole lot of begging online. He went online. He's like, yeah, times are tough. I'm not doing a GoFundMe or begging for money. Here's my cash app. I was like, please buy my books. If you're in the BLT community, it's like these books are for you. It's like, so I respect that, even though obviously the comic's not for me. But I respect the hustle where Mags Fasagio was like, yeah, I need $15,000 this year, and 2 years ago I needed another $15,000, and everyone who followed me on Twitter paid that $15,000. Just shit. It's like, you're in the comic book industry, shouldn't you be? Or Heather Antos, I need a new computer, and the chuds made fun of me for asking for a new. Yeah, I need a new computer too. Check me out on Subscribe Star. There's there is some Subscribe Star donors, but it's there's a lot of $2 donors. So it's like that $27 a month. It's going to be a while before I get that new computer fund. But like Heather Antos, it's like she was selling for the Simpson incel fans, and it makes them look kind of weird because why didn't you're in this industry, you're working full-time in comics, but more importantly, it's like if you need money to buy a computer, how little is the comic book industry paying you? Well, if Mags and Joe Glass and Heather Antos are essentially begging for money, it's like that doesn't make the comic book industry look real good. It's like the salaries kind of are low, and then you got to look at them. You're like, listen, if the salaries in comics are this low, why don't you do something else? Heather Antos is she's tall, statuesque, and reasonably good looking. There's a lot of people she'd get her foot in the door in a lot of places just on that, and it sucks that that's the reality, but that is the reality. There's a lot of places where that would be enough to get get her on for the first year, and after that, it's she's reasonably competent. She can kind of do anything, right? I think she's editor, so she's probably well spoken. She's good at the writing. There's a lot of things you could do that would you could work in an insurance company, or work in a law firm doing document review, document production. There's a lot of stuff you could do if you know how to read and write at a higher level. So it's weird that you're in comics, and I don't know, was it Max Fasagio is living in some East Coast city, and they're making comics that are probably not paying they might be paying $70,000 a year, which in some parts of the country is a lot, but where these people live, it's not. So they're begging for money online. You're like, well, why don't you just do one? If you love comics, I respect that. Move to Idaho somewhere where that whatever you're making selling comics will be enough for you to get a house in Idaho. No, I have to live in New York. No, you really don't have to live in New York. And why would you want to? Oh, because I need these bodegas and I need to pay $20 for a sandwich. Well, if you go to Montana, you can buy a sandwich for $7. Or you can learn how to make your own. It's none of this stuff makes sense. These people are just wrapped into this bizarro. Move to Eastern Oregon. Oh, there's a bunch of gun nut militias out there. Yeah, but it's a lot of fun. You can learn how to target shoot. Start with a 22. You will have a blast. Bunch of weirdos in comics. Anyway, where's it going with this? So this is a guy who wrote Ghosted in LA, which is the juxtaposition is you have the one girl of one Abrahamic belief, and the other girl is of the other Abrahamic belief. Star of Moloch versus the four-pointed star of the Christian group. And one is good and one is an intolerant, bigoted, Istophobic, German in the 1930s, everything but wearing Hugo Boss because Christian. And he's got issues with people of European descent. But actually, in this comic, it seems like he has more issues with Christians than with just Europeans. Because to be his credit, he didn't make her a stereotypical blonde, which is what you see in most comics. Like, how many times do I have to mention that? The blonde hair, blue-eyed, Aryan cliche. So at least in this, and here's the thing with all these comics, Joe Glass, all these Mags Visage, Sina Grace, all the woke Marvel. I read all their stuff, and I look at this stuff, and this comic is almost good. Mags Visage stuff could be good. All the stuff, even Joe Glass, all the stuff could be good if you like. For them, for Joe Glass, if you dial down like the effusive gayness, the saccharine gayness, overly sweet part of that, you just dialed it down a little bit to open up your audience a little bit. With Sina Grace, you just get rid of the hatred. There's this conflict between Jew and Christian. You get rid of that. People don't want to read about that kind of stuff in comics. And you would have had a very well drawn, cute comic that would have appealed to a big audience. But this comic, you alienate Christians, and even people who aren't Christians but who have good feelings towards Christianity and Christians in general in their life because they know they like them. So like you alienate all those people. And with Mags Visage, it's like, okay, the trans issue, it's like, okay, that's a part of the comic, that's fine. You're going to make that the crux, the dogma of the comics is dealing with these trans characters. But the anger at the male father figures, you don't need that. It's like just focus on telling a good story. So all these comics that are coming out of this kind of left-wing identity politics, they're very close to being good selling comics or better selling comics, and you don't have to abandon your dogma, but you also don't have to grind an axe. Like Ghosting in LA is this cute little romantic story, but just drop the anti-Christian stuff. That doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, so Sina Grace is a horrible artist. By that I mean drawing human anatomy and faces. He's not very good at, well, not horrible, it's too strong a word. He's not very good at, but as a landscape artist, he's excellent at. His composition of like the structure, the elements of the art on the page is very good, while any individual art on the page is very mediocre. I'll get to that example in a second. So what happened is he's going to write some story where it's going to be, blonde-haired, blue-eyed man bad. You go, oh, you really grind that axe about that. You really mention that Aryan stereotype all the time. Okay, friends, when this one, you can go look at Ghosted in LA. It's online. Go scroll through all 12 issues and be like, oh, Bianca, you're absolutely correct. I'm terribly sorry. And then when this thing comes out, please go look at this and see who the bad guy is. Who do you think is going to be the hate and anger, the intolerant, istophobic bigots on that hacker known as 4chan? Who do you think is going to be the bad guy? When they show the picture of the people online writing, building N-word towers, who do you think is going to be that bad guy? You think it's going to be the Asian kid, the Mexican kid, the black kid, or like even you think it's going to be a dark-haired, dark-eyed Irishman? No, because they don't want the art to confuse you. It's going to be a red-haired kid with green eyes or a blonde-haired kid with blue eyes. Oh, you couldn't possibly know that. Okay, well, when the comic comes out, get back to me on this. You think I'm wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. So I will say that Sina Grace is not a very good artist. I mean, he's better than me. Though, like I said, I can sculpt actually surprisingly well for someone who doesn't sculpt. I can just kind of pick it up and make the clay do what I want, but I can't draw. And he's not a great artist for faces and anatomy, but the composition of this, I looked at this, and the more I look at it, the more I like it. The three-dimensional aspect of the fence coming out in the foreground follows the trail. The pensive, melancholy look on their faces. It goes out to the farm in the back, or the barn in the background, and then the fields, and it's entering fall, and the combination of like fall and the melancholy, and it's like that painting ennui. It works together. Like this really comes together very, very strongly for a cover. I hope I don't know if he did the cover or not, but like, while the individual elements aren't good, like he needs a lot of practice on faces and anatomy, the overall structure of this is excellent. So credit to him for that. Anyway, so this is going to be some just Superman fights the Kathleen Kennedy Club. Yeah. I mean, that's really topical, right? There's like nobody, that group doesn't actually commit any crime. It's like that. Why wouldn't you fight the Crips, the Bloods, MS-13, Latin Kings, the actual gangs in Detroit, Chicago, LA, Oakland? Like, why don't you actually focus on people who are committing malum in se, struggle snuggles, and deletions from this mortal coil. Oh, because they're not blonde-haired, blue-eyed. Yeah, I mean, that's what, like, these comics and these movies, it gets more and more ridiculous where, like, you have this straw man who also has straw hair and you know, ice eyes. It's like, we know that's not in accord with reality, and yet we see it in every comic and every movie and every commercial. Gee, another incompetent European needs to be shown up by a POC. Gee, where have I seen that before? Oh, I've seen that in every single commercial in the past 20 years. Oh, yeah, that's why you don't watch TV. Anyway, so this comic, he's going to fight the probably people like me who are on Telegram, Odyssey, Bit Chute, and World Truth Video, and I don't know, Going TV, and all those kind of like video hosting platforms that are, these people are so far right. It's like, well, you kicked them off all the mainstream platforms, so now that all the people, like when you kick off the far right, and then you kick off the moderate right, and then you kick off like the milquetoast right, they all have to go to these alt platforms, so they're all bundled together. It's like, well, you guys are on these platforms with these literal neo whatever bad people. It's like, yeah, but they're not allowed. Like, you can't, when you're at the point of kicking off Alex Jones, so it means like everyone who's on these alt media platforms, it's like they're all combined together, and may you live in interesting times. Anyway, check me out on Subscribe. So I think I'm gonna start putting videos up there, and it's $2.23 a month. I thought I was being cute with that. And you can check out Sina Grace. He's on Twitter. You can, if you want to check out his comics. And you know, if you like Sina Grace, Joe Glass, Mags Versace, by all means, go support him. Check out the Pride. I mean, that kind of stuff. It's not for me, and like I think it's for a pretty limited audience. And again, it's frustrating to see it and think like you just need an editor. Just dial back this axe grinding, and these comics would go from selling. Mags Versace sells comics, and by issue 4 or 5, they get canceled because they're down to 900. It's like, you could open this up to 9,000 if you wanted to. If you just open it up to a bigger audience. By, I'm so mad at my dad. Yeah, we get that, but that's not selling comics to be mad at your dad. I really hate the Christians. Okay, well, you know, most of the country is either Christian or has good feelings towards Christians. So you're selling to this 2% of the country that really hates Christians, and also wants to buy comic books, and also is aware of the comic books. Like, so how well do the comics sell? Oh, not very well. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, you know, pragmatic things. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, check me out on the alternative, on those hate platforms, Odyssey and Bit Chute. Those are hate platforms, but they're actually growing. My channels over there are actually growing pretty well. Oddly enough, they're growing faster than YouTube. Shocking, I know. The Bit Chute's like 2,800 subs or something, and the Odyssey's over 1,000. And like YouTube's, I don't know. I mean, eventually the Bit Chute will double the YouTube channels, which is fine. Anyway, I will see you guys all next episode.